Of course, they tell me to rotate it and then it catches me in the middle. It's okay. My name's Christy Mattoon. This is Mindrewire. Today we're talking about healing the physical ailments, physical illness, the problems that you run into mentally with these things. So what we're talking about is basically what you're doing inside to help yourself heal. We're going to go into that more in depth. I want you to go ahead and subscribe to my page. Help me out with my subscription thing with YouTube here. It helps my ratings, and I greatly appreciate that. Like this video. If it helps you, if you need more information, always shoot me an email. My email will be underneath this post, so you'll be able to see that easily. And we're going to go right into what we're talking about here, which is being able to heal physical ailments, the health issues that we're all facing in this day and age. Because that stuff is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so it's good to know a good place to start inside yourself to be able to do this. First thing you have to start thinking is, what am I thinking? Because your thoughts directly matter when it comes to healing the physical body. Your thoughts directly matter. When you start thinking things like, oh my gosh, like this is really scary, the fear builds up in your system, whatever the doctor told you, if you keep repeating that over in your mind, other things that you may have told yourself in the past, like, no way, not me again, this is never going to heal, I can't do this, all the negative stuff that we come up with, and then even the stories we start to tell ourselves because of what the doctors and people around us are saying to us. Even the stuff you see on TV will have an impact on your health in this regard. The more you hear that stuff, the more you think about it, the more you watch it, if you come into agreement with it, it is going to directly negatively affect your healing experience. Okay? So what you think matters. The more you think the negative, the more the negative is going to come to you. Here's how that works. Inside your brain, you think a thought, your brain goes looking for information, and it gives you information probably from your past, information you already have that tells you, yeah, you're right, you're not going to heal. You've already heard it before on TV, you heard it from your friend, you saw it happen to your relative, it's the same thing, and you're going to suffer the same consequence, and that's how your brain thinks about it. So if your thoughts are if your thoughts are that this will never work, that you can't get through it, that, and you focus on the pain, you focus on the issue, you're probably right. Your brain's going to hear what you're saying. So once again, your brain hears what you're saying, and then it kicks into action to find information regarding what you're saying to give back to you. So you're just kind of reconfirming your own conviction that you're never going to heal. So you can also look at it like on a conscious level. What am I thinking? I've got the thought in my head that this isn't going to heal, and I'm really scared, and it's got me in a panicky place. And in the front of my mind, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I got to counter that. So you have to counter it. You have to say something different. And so you start a process of affirmation saying, no, I'm going to be fine. Every time that thought's up, you come against it and you counter it. But in the back of your head, you still hear that old voice going, this ain't never going to work. That's where most of us end up. Where that's coming from is your subconscious storage locker. So that information is coming out of your subconscious mind, and it's hitting you in the back of your head while you're trying to think your affirmation. That's the stuff that we have to go in and clean up and get rid of, because if that continues to stay there, you will continue to stay in the path that you're in and what you're going through and going down in this road of healing. So your subconscious will step in and tell you whatever it thinks it knows. It'll give you the information. Not only does it give you the information mentally in thought form, it might give you picture information based on things you've seen. It might give you, and it actually does give you, chemical information. So you'll get the chemicals that come along with whatever it is you're thinking about. If they're cortisol, adrenaline, and chemicals that negatively affect the system in overloaded amounts, or when they're in the system for too long, you're going to reap the benefit of ill health just by way of having that going on in your system. Which is why the practice of getting into a rhythm of saying positive things helps, because in those moments it bumps up your chemicals in your body. It gives you a different set of chemicals that makes you feel a different way. The goal is to be able to hold those there, to keep them in your system longer. If you've got the negative stuff in your subconscious storage locker, it's really hard to do, and that's why it's so important to go back and clean out the subconscious stuff. So you have to think about it. from the avenue of what chemicals are being released into your system according to the thought you're having. Fear brings in chemicals of cortisol and adrenaline, probably a little dopamine because of expectation. It just does. There's no way around it. If you are in fear, those are the chemicals you're introducing into your system. And we don't want to do that. We want to stop that practice because that's what's helping you stay ill. And it's also what's keeping you from achieving the healing that you're looking for. So we have to get that to stop. Whatever you're telling yourself on the subject, become aware of it. Become aware of it. Sit down and go through a practice. Go through some kind of thing that maybe you've done, tapping, whatever it is you're into, meditation. All of these kind of things will help with this. If you can't get it, let me know. That's where something like Mindrewire really helps because we directly target the issue. We'll go after it, get you in a whole brain state and actually bring your vibration up higher than whatever the issue is you're fighting with and help you get on a road that will start to create a different chemical message, right, in your system. And that allows you to help change the words too. So it all kind of switches at once. It's a combination of the words and the feeling, which equate back to the chemicals. Is that making sense? So basically what you have to understand is it all has to come into alignment. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? If those two match, you've got to win. If they're negative, the win is actually a loss because it's making you sick. If those two match and they're positive, you've got to win and you're going to start a healing process. And it actually expedites the healing because when they match, we can collapse time a little bit. It gets really interesting. You think it's going to take 6 years or however long the doctor told you to heal. And then all of a sudden you start aligning those chemicals with your thoughts. And we're talking sheer physiology at this point. This isn't even a spiritual thing. This is just physiology. If your chemical situation is aligned with the thought that you're having and you're trying to get rid of a physical problem, if those match, you're going to start a healing process. You just are. You can't help but, right? Your body's going to kick in and start doing what it knows how to do. So you have to understand that part of it. Thoughts matter. The feelings inside your system matter. Every word out of your mouth. So let's talk about it for a second from the spiritual aspect. I believe every word out of your mouth is a prayer. It just is. Everything you say sends out a message. It sends out a vibration. It sends out some form of information. However you want to look at it, every word out of your mouth becomes a prayer. When you send that message out, whatever the message is, it's going to come back to you somehow. This is the law of attraction. It's karma. It's reaping and sowing. Wherever you come up with your information from, it's all the same. It's actually what they call a universal law. Whatever you put out, it's going to come back to you. If you're telling yourself you can't heal, you're sending that message out, and guess what? It's coming back to you. And so you're causing the same response, the same reaction that you're actually totally petrified of. So you have to stop doing that. Now, I won't lie to you. If you are in a situation where you've already wrecked out a body part, tissue, like something's totally gone offline, maybe a system has totally gone offline. If you are suffering because of the food you're eating, if you're suffering because you've got metal in your body and your body's fighting it, there's all of these different combinations of things that can go on. Your attitude, the chemicals that you're allowing into your system because of your thoughts, so we're talking about your own internal chemical system, will make a difference even in those situations. But those situations have to get ironed out too. They go hand in hand. Once you've got a body part wrecked out, it gets a little bit tougher to do. Sometimes that thing might never heal if you've totally derailed it. Sometimes you might get the miracle. You might get the instantaneous, and you got your miracle. The thing is cured. I don't know. All I know is that when we match those two things up, things start to change. Sometimes it's in an instant. Sometimes you're in a process. I've had it happen both ways. I've had it happen with my thyroid where I was on medication and I was working on it. I was doing all the right stuff medically and my food and all of these things. And at the point that I was like, oh, I think I'm good. I remember sitting down and praying one day, and it was almost like an angel or a being walked up to me and literally inserted something into my throat. I was like right in here. I felt it. It was the craziest thing. Now, I've had that happen a couple of times with a few different things. And that one I was able to go back, like I went back to my endo because I had another appointment. And all my blood work was totally normal at that point. But I had been doing the work up to that point. Then that thing happened. It's totally normal. She looked at me and she goes, because I was like, oh, I'm done. Yeah, I'm out of here. And she's like, no, you'll be back. This doesn't last. Once you've got this, it never goes away. I immediately went out into the lobby and sat myself down and got her words out of my head. I totally rejected everything she said. Because if you hold on to it, if I keep that as a belief system, I'm throwing myself back into the process. And I don't want to do that. I want to stay ahead of it. I want to stay vibrating higher than it. And I want to keep my thoughts in a place and in a position where I can keep allowing healing to occur if it's needed. Okay. So the second you get any kind of negative indication, you got to start countering it. On the spiritual end of it, with every word out of your mouth being a prayer, that turns into a vibration that gets sent out. God hears it. The universe is listening, right? If you believe in angels, all around you, you've got people listening and spirits listening and things listening, and the energy of the universe is listening, and it will send you back whatever it is you're putting out there. So you have to get that right. On the chemical, physical end of it, right? You get the chemicals in your body. That gives you a feeling, that sends you into a thought, it sends you into an action. Chemical, feeling, thought, action. There's two ways that can actually happen, and there's actually levels of it. So from the physical side, that chemical gives you the feeling, and we call that an emotion. On the spiritual side, you also have emotions, but they don't come from your chemicals. They come from a whole other place. And so if your chemical being from the physical side is giving you a bit of information, your spirit's probably going to follow that information, which is why it's so important to change it. Because from a spiritual side, you also get there's an emotional level there. There's an emotional component, which is why prayer is effective when you can get into a highly emotional state. And so that's what we're working to do. And again, it all has to come into alignment from your brain, your subconscious, to your heart, to your gut, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, because all of those areas are sensory organs that feel and give you information. Your brain just happens to store it, but you got to get them all in alignment all the way out into the spirit so that your healing can actually occur and you can start to do better. So here's what I do. This is kind of my sequence to this. I actually had a bone in my foot die years ago, and I went through 4 different surgeries, had all kinds of metal in my foot, was told I would never jump again, I'd never walk again correctly because my foot wouldn't dorsiflex and plantar flex right, and it wouldn't invert or evert correctly. I can't move it very far. It would never be right. And so after the 4th surgery, get all the metal out, and this was at the advice of a therapist that I was seeing at the time, a physical therapist. He was like, just get all the metal out and let's see what movement we can get, because the metal was actually impeding my movement at that point. And everything, he's like, the bones are what they're going to be at this point. They replaced him. I was like, it's not going to change. So let's get all this junk out. So we did. We started working on making it move. And what I actually ended up doing is I went and found a picture of a normal foot. So the internal structure, the bones, what do the bones look like? How are they supposed to look? Because the x-ray that I saw was totally not that. And that's what was implanted in my head, was what that x-ray looked like. So I got the x-ray, or I got a picture of just a normal foot, and that's what I kept thinking inside my head. Every time I thought about my foot, every time I tried to jump, run, do any of this stuff, I was thinking about what that normal foot could do. And it's a practice. Like, you have to get in there and really start talking to yourself. Do you want to stay sick? Do you want to stay impeded? Do you want to stay in pain? Or do you want it to change? And that's literally the direction I took it. I was like, okay, so I've got this picture in my head. And then I would just run it through my process. I would put it in a whole brain state. I would run it through my heart. I would put it down into my gut. So I'm moving my awareness around my body, holding on to this picture and just implanting it into my system. This is how this works. This is what it looks like. This is the original. This is how this should happen. And slowly, all of a sudden, I was able to jump. I started running. I started doing all kinds of cool things that I never thought I could do. And it was with a level of training. I didn't get the instant miracle. It is a level of work. It's a level of attitude. It's a level of emotion that you have to keep yourself in. It's a practice. It's a daily practice. I practiced for years sucking at life. right? It's what I was taught to do. I practiced for years sucking at life, telling myself that I hated myself, that I couldn't, that it would never happen, that it's only going to get worse, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. When I was able to change that stuff, that's when life started to change. And that was all subconscious chatter from my past. If you know any of my history, that gets pretty deep because I don't even remember my past. And so it's like, well, how do you change something you don't know about? It's a long story. There's probably other videos on it in here, but we'll go into that again a different time. On the healing on the physical level, and this is, I've been talking a lot to people about this recently, so I just wanted to throw a video out there. Do I believe it's possible? Yes. With anything? Yes, actually, I do. And you're hearing more and more and more stories about it if you're listening to the right people talk about it, the doctors who are actually working in this arena, who are helping people heal things like dementia and Alzheimer's, stuff that we never thought would ever change. And these people are actually reversing their symptoms. A lot of it's diet, a lot of it's supplementation, it's getting the chemicals out of your body, it's getting all this stuff moving out of your system. And there has to be a train of thought with it. There has to be a train of thought that this is going to heal and you're going to do better. Okay, so my name is Christy again. This is Mindrewire. Please go ahead and like my station. I'm going to do some more talk about this and different things that you can do to help your own healing and really start to buffer yourself up and change the way your body's responding to your mind, because that's what's happening. At the end of it, if you're doing your food right and you've got all this other stuff going the right direction, you're like, I'm really, really trying, it's something inside the subconscious. So we got to get that into alignment. Blessings and peace. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to talk to you again.